So today we are going to start with chapter 13, lesson 2 in Algebra 2, which talking about angles and the unit circle. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to work with angles in standard position and how to find the coordinates of points on the unit circle. Now, let's start now talking about the angle. The angle here, I think there's some parts are missing. The angle here, every angle, it has a vertex with two sides. All of us know that the angle it has a vertex with two sides. So we assume that this is the vertex. This is the first side. And this is the second side. Now, so this is a vertex. And from the vertex, we have two rays. This ray and this ray. Now, one of the rays will be on the x-axis. And we called it initial side. And the other ray, it could be on the x-axis, it could be on the y-axis, it could be between them on the first, second, or third, or fourth quadrant. So this is the terminal side, which is the other side. We call it the terminal side. So every angle, it has two rays. One of the ray, we call it initial side, as it is on the x-axis, and the terminal side, the other ray, its name is terminal side. It could be on the x-axis, it could be on the y-axis, and it could be between them. Such as we see here. Here we have the initial side. Now, the terminal side, it could be here. So if the terminal side is in quadrant 1, here will be the angle. If the terminal side is in quadrant 2, here will be the angle, theta. And if the terminal side is in quadrant 3, so here will be the angle. So this is, as you see, the terminal side, it could be in any axis or any quadrant, but the initial side, it must be on the x-axis. Now, how to find the measure of the angle? The measure of the angle means this is the axis here. Now, as I told you now, imagine now, this is the terminal side, and this is, it's like this. And the vertex must be on the origin. So these two purple lines, the first one, this one here, we called it initial side. And this one here, it is the terminal side. Now, when I told you find the measure of the angle, what's the meaning of the measure of the angle? The measure of the angle, it's mean the amount of rotation from the initial side up to the terminal side. The amount of rotation. So measure of angle, it doesn't mean the length, the area, the width. It's mean the amount of rotation. Angle, it's mean rotation. So each angle, it's need initial side, it's need an terminal side, and the definition or the meaning of measure of angle, it's mean the amount of rotation. From where it will be from the initial up to the terminal. From the initial to the terminal, not from the terminal to initial, from the initial to the terminal. Now, if you go, now, you know the clock. This is the clock here. Now, in math or in physics, I can say, all of us know that this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 6, this is 9, and this is 12. So now when I say clockwise, that's mean I'm moving with the clock. This means we called it clockwise. For the clockwise in the angles, I mean that I have it as a negative. And I mean that I'm moving with the opposite direction. And counterclockwise, that means I'm going on the opposite direction of the angle. This is, we called it counterclockwise. And if I of the angle going on counterclockwise, I assume that it is positive. So counterclockwise, it is positive. Clockwise, it is negative. Now, here there's nothing. Okay. Now, let's talk about now the coordinates. In the coordinates here, you have to know that this quadrant here, we called it quadrant 1. Okay, this one here, we called it quadrant 1. And this one here, we called it quadrant 2. Now we have to use the Roman numbers, just like this. This is mean quadrant 2. And here we have a quadrant 3. And here we have the last one. Here we have a quadrant 4. Then how do you write 4 in Romans? V, this V, it's mean 5. So if you have one I before V, it's mean 4. V only, it's mean 5. V with I after the 5, it's mean 6. V with 2 I's after the 5, it is 7. V with 3 I's after the 5, which is 8. And 9, it's like this. Oh, no, sorry. This is 10. And X with I before it, which is 9. So that's why sometimes we find iPhone X. That's mean the iPhone 10. Now, so this is here the Romans letter. So this is quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now be careful. Where is 1? Where is 2? Where is 3? And where is 4? Now here you have angle 0. Here you have angle 90. Here you have 180. And here you have 270. And here you have 360 when the circle continues its rotation. Now, let's draw now here a circle with the center at the origin. So this is here our circle. Now you have to know here that if the side on the x-axis we'll name it now with cosine. Okay, so here this axis we name it now with cosine. So if it is on the x-axis, its name is cosine. And if the side, yeah, I told you that we'll take it later on in chapter 14. Now,
okay.
And the side that is on the y-axis, we name it with sine. So this is the cosine, and this is the sine. If you have a sine, line, sorry, this line is, that's we talked in geometry, that's touch the circle. Okay, what we call it?
Tangent.
Tangent. Exactly. So the line that is touch the circle, we call it a tangent. So here now, this one, to find out the coordinates of the tangent here will be cosine sine. Or in the triangles, if this is a cosine and this is the sine, so the tan will be the sine over cosine. Tan of x will be sine over cosine. So that's mean if I have it as 1 and 2 as an example, so the tan will be 2 over 1, sine over cosine. So the tangent here, it is, we know it from the circle, in the trigonometric ratios, it is sine over cosine. This is the tan. So if I told you now here, as an example, like the points here is 1, -3 as an example, and I asked you now to find the tan, you have to say the tan is a tan of x will be sine x over cosine x. Where is the sine? It's square root of 3. And where is the cosine? It is 1. So the tan of x will be square root of 3. Now, up here, up to until now, is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
What is the sine? What is the cosine? What is the quadrant?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's talk now about the most common angles. That's you must know the sine and the cosine and tan for them. I will give you some of them today, and tomorrow we are going to talk about the others. Now, here is the angles 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. Now, today we are going to talk about these angles only. 0. Now, all of these angles are in quadrant 1 because this is 0. 0 and 90 are on the axis, and the angles 30 and 60 and 45, which is cut the quadrant into 2 equals rotation or 2 equals distance, we called it 45. Now, here you have to know the sine, the cosine, and the tan for each one. Now, you have to know that the sine of 0 is 0, and the cosine of 0 is 1. Now, the sine of 30 is half, and the cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. And 30 and 60, they are opposite to each other. What does it mean? The sine of 30 is half, and the cosine of 60 is half. And the cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2, and the sine of 60 will be square root of 3 over 2. And for the 45 here, we have it as over square root of 2, I think. 1 over square root of 2 for the sine, and for the cosine, it is 1 over square root of 2. Some of the box or the calculator write it as square root of 2 over 2. They are the same. And for the 90 here, we have the sine as 1 and the cosine as 0. Now, the tan, as I told you, the tan is sine over cosine. So the tan of 0 will be 0 over 1, which is 0. But the tan of 90 is undefined. There's no tan. Why? Because 1 over 0 is undefined. Now let's find the tan of 30. Tan of 30, it means that you have to divide 1 over 2, which is the sine, over square root of 3 over 2. How did you find them? To find them here, let's remind you now. Now, to find them here, let's go back to grade 6, that if you have a fraction divide by other fraction, you have to keep the first fraction as it is,
And then
change the division to be multiplied, and multiply it by the reciprocal of the fraction. That's mean, take 1 over 2, multiply by the reciprocal of square root of 3 over 2. You have to flip it here. So it is
2 over square root of 3.
Then simplify it. So we have it as 1 over square root of 3. So that's mean here, the tan of 30 will be 1 over square root of 3. Now, for 45, tan 45. It is sine of 45 over cosine of 45. Now, as you see, it is 1 over square root of 2 over 1 over square root of 2. So they are equal. They canceling each other. So the tan of 45 is 1. Now let's talk about 60. Tan 60 is sine 60 over cosine 60. Now what is the sine? It's square root of 3 over 2. Divide by cosine, which is half. As I told you, to solve it here, you have to write square root of 3 over 2, reciprocal of 2. So it will be square root of 3. As you see, it is the reciprocal of tan of 30, which is 1 over square root of 3. Its reciprocal is square root of 3. Now, the first thing, or I know maybe you know it before, that the sine and the cosine, it must be greater than 0 and less than 1. So there's no, if you find that as an example, sine of any angle is 2 point something, this is wrong, because the domain of the sine will be between 0 and 1. Or it must be less than 1. The greatest one or the highest value is 1, which is at point 90. It must be less than 1. It must be between -1 and 1. And for the cosine, it must be between -1 and 1. But for the tan, it could be greater than 1. Because as you see here, square root of 3, it is 1 point something. So it could be greater than 1. So the sine and the cosine, it must be less than 1, and the tangent must be greater than 1. This is now the ratios that you must know them. Is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, teacher.
Now, here now, as you see, you don't have any of the tools. You don't have the protractor. You need now to find the measure of the angle. If you know the coordinates of it. Look at the first one here. On the first one in A here, we have it, this initial side on the x-axis, and the terminal side is on the y-axis. As I told you before, this is 0, this is 90, this is 180, and this 207. And since it's complete rotation, it's come back to 360. And if I go counterclockwise, I have a positive angle. Now, it starts from the initial side, it stops at 90. So that means the measure of this angle here is 90 degrees. Now let's go to the second one. In the second one here, we are going clockwise. So it must be negative. So the measure of angle theta here is negative. Negative what? Here now, if you are going with negative, you have to know that this is 0. This will be negative 90. This will be negative 180. And this is negative 270. Okay, will be negative 90, negative 180, negative 270. If I am going now with clockwise. Now I'm start rotating. If I don't stop on negative 90, it stop here. So I need to find this angle. That this point here, or this part here, it is 90. But here we have a small angle. I need to find it. How can I find it? As I told you before, these coordinates here, it tell me that cosine, sine. So if you have it as negative 2 and negative 2, so that's mean the cosine is negative 2 and the sine is negative 2. What did I need to find now? I need to find the tangent. The tangent is the sine over cosine. So it's negative 2 over 2, which is 1. Now, the second step, I will ask myself, I know that tan of theta is 1. So what is theta? You have to use the inverse. You will say that tan inverse of 1. Now, from the table that I gave it before, which angle that I told you that its tangent is 1?
45.
45. So this 45, that's the measure of this small angle here is 45 degrees. After I found now the measure of this angle here, let's come back. So I have it now as 90 plus 45. Because I am rotate now. Don't stop at 90, stop at 90 and after it with 45. So the measure of this angle here will be 90 plus 45 and negative because I'm going clockwise, which will be negative 135 degrees. So this angle here is negative 135 degrees. Is it clear?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, teacher.
Yeah, okay. Let's have now more examples.
Yes, teacher, thank you.
Yeah. Now here. Now, as you see here now, we are going now with clockwise, counterclockwise. So it's the theta here, it must be positive.
Yeah, because it goes from right to left.
Then
90
here now,
plus 90.
here is 90, here is 180, here is 270. And as you see, the terminal side is between 180 and 270. So up to this point here, we have it as 180. Plus, I need to find this shaded angle here. To find it, I have the coordinates. That this is sine and cosine. So the tan of theta here will be -2 over -2, which is 1. And as we said, which angle its tangent is 1? As we said in the previous example, it is 45. So that's mean this shaded angle here is 45. So what is the measure of the angle will be? Positive 180 plus 45. Which is, you have to add them here as positive 225 degree. So the measure of this angle here from the initial side up to the terminal side will be positive 225. And as I told you, it is between 180 and 270. Is it clear?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Let's have now
Oh,
good example.
yes.
Now, let's solve this one here. Number 7. In number 7 here, as you see, we are going clockwise. So that means it's negative. But they give me that this angle here, or the coordinate of this angle, is 2, 2. So can I say that it is 360 minus the pink angle? Can I say?
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, this is 180, 270 plus something here. So I can say that it is 360 minus this pink angle. So if I want to find this rotation now, or this angle, I need to find now the pink angle. So let's find now the pink angle here. This is angle theta. This is angle alpha. So tan of the angle theta is sine over cosine, which is 2 over 2. So theta will be 45 degrees. So this will be now 45. So what is the measure of angle alpha? As I told you, it's 360 minus
45.
minus 45. Or you can say it's like this. You are going from here, up to here, 270 plus 45. So you can say it is 270 plus 45, because if you find it here as 45, so this one here, it will be 45, because the rotation between each two axes is 90, or the angle between two axes is 90. So if this is 45, this will be 45. So let's find now the rotation from here up to here, 180, 270 plus 45. So you can say it's 270 plus 45, or you can say it's 360 minus 45. Let's add them here. So it will be 315. So the measure of this angle here is 315 degrees. Now let's, oh, before that, is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, okay.
Yes. But teacher, all of those
Oh.
angles are just 45. Aren't we going to take like 30 or 60 or other angles?
Yes, in the next examples here. But sorry, I forget. Here we are going to move counterwise, sorry, clockwise. So it has to be negative 315. Okay. This is
Teacher,
number
even
8.
the second one,
Oh,
right?
the second one, yes, it will be negative, but we solve it like before. We solved like it before. Now let's go now to number 9. This is number 9 here. Here now we have 90. This is here 180. This 270. We are going counterclockwise, so it will be positive. Up to this point here, we have it as 180, but I need to find this angle here. This angle here, that's mean. Here we have, and tomorrow I will tell you how to, what's the mean of this coordinates. But here, that's mean you have here an angle. And this is the cosine, and this is the sine. So the tangent here will be the sine over cosine, negative square root of 3 over negative 1. So tan, the orange angle, let's name it with alpha. Tan alpha is square root of 3. So what's alpha will be? From the table, it will be 60. Bravo. So that's mean. So this is alpha here. So this is here is 60. And up to here is 180. So it will be 180 plus 60. This is the amount of rotation. And it must be positive because I'm going counterclockwise. So the angle here will be 240 degrees. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's solve now number 10, and then we will stop at 10. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will continue. Here now, we have it as it's rotate counterclockwise, so it will be positive. 90 plus something, plus alpha. We need now to find this angle alpha. So the measure of angle theta, which is, sorry, this is theta. That one that is drawn by the book. So now, 90 plus alpha, I find theta. Then now here, it is a positive because we are going now counterclockwise. To find tangent of alpha, we have to say it is sine over cosine. Now what is the sine here? It is half. And the cosine, it's negative square root of 3 over 2.
So it's 30 degrees?
This is negative 1 over square root of 3. Now what is the angle? That is tangent is negative 1 over square root of 3.
It's 30.
It's 30. So that means this angle here is 30. Without the negative, this tomorrow I will tell you when we have to put negative and when we have to put positive. But this small angle here is 30. So the measure of this angle will be 120. Tomorrow we are going now to say that, or to talk about the angles of 120, 180 to 170. From then, you will have to know that the measure of the angle which its tangent is negative 1 over square root of 3 will be 120. This is inshallah, we are going to talk about them on Thursday and on Sunday. So the measure of this angle here will be positive 120. Is it clear?